much you transform all the wine in digital world, and that's why I wanted so much to interview you.
I think that nowadays consumers, they really want to know what they are buying. So we will do our research. We will ask a friend, for example, about their opinion. I don't see people going and just buying wine on the spot. They want to know what they're buying. So digital really helps in that.
I feel like the wine industry thinks they don't need marketing because wine is art. At least in my opinion, it's one of the big mistakes in the wine industry. Think change, adapt is I think is the most challenging for the business.
We are selling a product that it's full of stories. So we are so lucky. We can take advantage. So I see this evolution. I see that people start to understand this more and more. And also, people start to realize that the modern consumer wants to seek for experiences. The wineries right now, of course, they should keep investing to the traditional consumers, but at the same time, don't forget there is a new generation coming who cares about their health, who drink less alcohol, and who don't understand wine, and they think that wine also is boring. You don't have to copy what other people are doing. Take inspiration, but incorporate it in your own voice. Don't be afraid to show who you are. Don't be afraid to be human, because nowadays social are about creating these bonds among brands and people.
Welcome to Georgia. She is actually in the other side of the world, so far away from Australia. Georgia is pretty much you transform all the wine in digital world, and that's why I wanted so much to interview you to share your story and to share your experience, and then main as well to be able to help with the business how they can create the digital presence on this the new world, because the new world is digital, and I saw like in your profile like wine is digital. So tell me about you, like how everything is started, because it started with the wine industry. You chemical engineer and now became a wine professional. What's happened?
It's true. It's a long story. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Hello from Greece. Um, so what do you want to know regarding the
So
journey?
what did they start? How did they come across to actually start to work in the wine industry? Because it was not like something like you have done with like before like you started with chemical engineer and you just change it. So you're studying something completely different before you go through the wine industry.
Exactly.
So
So
what's the passion come from?
exactly. So my background is more, let's say, technical. I studied chemical engineering in Greece, in Athens. But I would say that the passion about wine um, occur as a result of a combination of things. So, in my opinion, some people are very lucky to find their path early in life. Some people know what they want to do since they're very, very young. I wasn't in this category, and I think that I found my way by experimenting, by living life in a way. So by meeting people, by watching movies, reading books. So it's a combination of things that actually made me fall in love with people, flavors, history, nature, traveling, all the elements that are part of the wine world. But I didn't know that back then. So in a way, I think that all the things that I love are incorporated in such a beautiful way in the marketing in the wine industry that I found my path by this let's say from this side. So I started as a chemical engineering, but the change in my life became started 7 years ago. Actually, I changed my career completely.
And then how did you find the opportunity? Because 7 years ago, like the digital was pretty still quite new, like like social media is not that long ago, and we changed completely the behaviors and everything else. So how did you find the opportunity, and what do you think like it changed so much the behavior of yourself today, like for your experience of doing that for the last 7 years?
So I made this shift in my mind because back then, as you might have heard, in Greece, we have been through a huge financial crisis that lasted for approximately 10 years. It started in 2008. You remember this huge crisis all around the world. So in Greece, we're a small country. Many things weren't really, let's say, nicely organized by the government. So we were in a big mess. I was studying back then. I was still a student, and I graduated during a very hard period. So I couldn't find a job and as an engineer, and also the jobs that I would land back then, they wouldn't really express myself. So I was in a point in my life that I wasn't really happy with my job, with my everyday routine, etc. And I had in mind when I was a student this romantic, let's say, idea about wine. As I told you, it was a result from all these elements that I love. So I was always romanticizing this idea of being part of, let's say, a winery, working for a winery. So before I graduated, I sent my CV in many wineries in Greece, but no one would reply to me because I had no experience in wine.
Yeah, yeah,
So after I graduated, I started working as an engineer in big corporate companies like Coca-Cola, pharmaceutical companies, etc. I
yeah.
reached this point that I told you that I was totally unsatisfied. And I thought, okay, Georgia, I was 25 years old. I was in a huge quarter life crisis. And I thought, okay, you have nothing to lose. There is no job. There is no job right now in Greece.
Yeah.
Whatever you will do, you won't make more money. And do something out of love, out of passion. So I thought, okay, I will quit my job in Athens. I will send my CV again in wineries, this time in Santorini Island. And I had faith. I thought that something good will happen. And it
Yeah.
happened. So a winery accepted my application. They trusted in me. And in a month, I leave my job in Athens, my life in Athens. I moved to Santorini. I started working for the first time for the wine industry, and I fell totally in love. And that was back in 2016. It was the first time that I worked in a winery. So during the season in Santorini, I met a professional from Greece that she was kind of my mentor. And she suggested that I follow a master's degree in wine, but this time abroad.
Hmm.
So I told her that I really like the industry, but I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to make wine. I want to be in the wine world, but I don't know what is my call yet.
Yeah.
So she suggested this master's that is very unique. So during the studies, I would travel for a year around the world studying wine at the same time. And this is what I did. And this is how Wine Genie started, because I started documenting this experience from the very first moment.
Um, and that's how you can share in the social media, and that's how it became crazy. People just want to connect with you because they want to know where you're going, when you travel, which wineries you're going. And so at the beginning it was not a sharing knowledge like lots of the wine people doing these days. It's like it was more about the experience that what you're sharing on the social is like lifestyle experience in the wine. You travel in different parts of the world and like what looks like it. So you went into completely different position of many people doing today. So, and it's probably one of the reasons you think that's how it increases so much your community.
I think we should all be part of the evolution. So, I mean, in the very first moment in 2017, the social media, in terms of the wine industry, they were still in the baby steps. Most people would post the wine that they were drinking, and just that, just a label of wine. Myself and some other people who also arose back then, in the beginning, they didn't know how to call us. They were saying these kids or these, I don't know.
So that is how it would be called, like in the beginning, like the kids just wanted to drink wine.
To have fun, yes. I would share a lot of things about my personal journey, changing my life from completely, actually, starting my own journey in the wine industry. So I would share a lot about my personal story. And of course, I would share a lot about the places I was visiting, the wineries I was visiting, but I'm still actually doing because I travel a lot. I still travel a lot to cover different wine regions and wineries. So I think that the content, in a way, evolves with the time that we are living. So we need always to adjust. If you see that people are more into, let's say, lifestyle content, you go more in this way. If you see that people are more in the educational side, you go more in this way. But I think a balance is always the best solution.
To be able to build like a digital brand on the social media. Tell me about it,
Depends.
like the depends.
Depends what you want. Depends what is your goal. I mean, if let's say you have a wine shop, maybe you want to invest more in the educational content. If you are a wine influencer, maybe you want to invest also in your personal story to connect more with your audience. So it depends what is your goal in the end.
And then what this is actually, this is a new thing for the wine industry. And then I think if people don't know as much how work with influencers. And if people think if influencers agency, you're gonna influence people, and that's why the word it became very negative sometimes. So people don't want it to go as influencers. But in the end, at my view, and I think you share the same views because I have been reading lots of the articles about you, it's not about influence people. It's about building communities. About sharing the same interests. In this case, like if travel and drink wine. If it's the wineries, that's probably what your audience like about you. Um, and then that is something we needed to. I wanted to explore that subject with you because I know you were one of the speakers of the Wine in Future in Portugal, and then you talk about paid influencers. So, what's your view about that? So, it's probably something that's very new for the wine industry. Some people do and believe it. Some people don't do it. They don't like it. They don't believe it. But what's your view? What do you want to share with us?
I think that the term influencer will start to decline. You see that even Meta is calling us creators because we are creators.
Yeah.
And in order to be a creator, you need to have many different elements in your personality. So we are not just creating content, we are storytellers. We are trying to connect in a way our audience with each time a different brand. So we try to build different stories, but always connected with our values and those of the brands that we work with. So I think it's more complicated than just being an influencer. I think that right now, the creators that really establish themselves as, let's say, um, a leader, as leaders in their field, are people who know actually, um, in terms, let's say, let me think how I want to express this.
Yeah.
Um, Yes, I think that if you want to call yourself a key opinion leader, you need, first of all, to know what you're talking about. So the people who are called wine influencers are people who actually know about wine. So in the
Mhm.
end, we really try to evolve, we try to explore and to discover and to grow our knowledge regarding what we do. Each one of us is different.
Mhm.
So, in my opinion, it's more about being a creator, not an influencer. And when it comes to helping brands to communicate their message, we are in a way a medium for them to spread out the word in an audience that it's their target, or an audience that they haven't even thought that maybe it's their target. So, in a way, we act like this echo for their message around the world.
So, and that is something completely new for the industry. So, how, like, you have a big community, it's 120,000 people following you on Instagram these days. So, how do people actually see you as a creator? So they coming to you, and then how that business working with work with the other brands. So it's something like if people really easy to talk and to like build something together, or we still in the old days of the old strategies, people don't want to use to build communities and just wanted to post a picture of wine and say this is most premium wine in the world. Well, what's your view about what the wineries in general globally doing today? Can they need to be changed for the future, for to be more to create the digital presence on the wine industry?
You mean what they are doing in their own channels, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And how they should evolve in a way in the digital space.
Yeah, so that's what need to be changed. What they're
Mm,
doing now, okay, they need to change for to be more engaging.
yes. Uh, I think the most important thing is for the wineries to speak the language of the upcoming consumers. So I don't know if you noticed, but recently even Bordeaux wines are trying to speak to a widespread audience. They have changed their strategy completely. So I think that the wineries right now, of course, they should keep investing to the traditional consumers, but at the same time, don't forget that there is a new generation coming who cares about their health, who drink less alcohol, and who don't understand wine, and they think that wine also is boring. So what I would do as a winery is that I would try to create a long-term strategy that is also that is not excluding the younger generations. So I would try to speak the language of the young generations. I would try to understand also what is the platform that works for me, because I might be very, let's say, capable of doing videos, or I don't know, creating podcasts, whatever. For each brand works something different. But for me, the most important thing is that I would try to understand what I'm actually trying to say to the consumers. So, what makes me different in this sea of competition? And I would establish a strategy. This is something that I see as a huge, let's say, um, something that is very challenging for the industry. So most wineries don't understand that they need a strategy, not only for the traditional marketing, but also for the digital marketing. They don't seem to understand that in a way the digital is goes hand in hand with the traditional marketing. So I would hire people who actually know their work, or I would work with an agency that knows how to help me. You don't have to do everything by yourself.
And then that is to actually something is you probably see more the future, yeah. Like people are gonna realize they need to engage with the younger generation. They need to do different because people have different behaviors. And I saw one of your articles, you say like the social media really reshaping the behavior of people. And I think you're so right when you say that. And I wanted to share that your view, because I think you really nailed the words when I read that in your article, to say like it's completely changed. The digital is really changed, the reshaping of like our behavior. So what do you actually see the difference between that before social media in the wine industry and now social media? What's the behavior of the consumers now, in your opinion?
I have noticed that the wine space in terms of digital is becoming so vast lately that it reminds me back then when social media were booming, the fashion industry, the fitness industry, the food industry. So you see so many people, creators out there, and also many wineries trying to get in the game more dynamically, which is amazing. Also, we should keep in mind that we are part of an industry that is a treasure in terms of content. We are not selling Pampers, we're not selling, I don't know, paper books. We are selling a product that is full of stories. So we are so lucky. We can take advantage of this amazing, like, I don't know, it's like a playground, for marketeers. So I see this evolution. I see that people start to understand this more and more. And also, people start to realize that the modern consumer wants to seek for experiences.
Yes.
So again, wine is this kind of product that is totally connected with experiences. That right now it's the trend everywhere. People are traveling. People are always looking for new gastronomic experiences, everywhere around the world. And people want to share these experiences. Food is always part of these experiences. So wine that is so much connected with food, and we see this boom of the foodies everywhere, and this trend is not going away. I mean, food is always going to be there in the social media. Um, so we should take advantage of this, let's say, trend, and make wine even more part of the lifestyle of the consumer. This is a big chance, I think, for everyone, for the wine industry.
And what do you actually, it's because you have a marketing company, and my experience, I don't know if it's the same for you, please feel free to explain that. I feel like the wine industry thinks they don't need marketing because wine is art, wine, like they don't think they need marketing. And I think this is one of the big, at least in my opinion, it's one of the big mistake in the wine industry, because everyone is doing marketing, like Apple Pay, spending so much money on marketing. Nike is spending so much money on the markets, like, and it, like, actually brands is want to do well, they spending money in the market. But it's very rare some of the wineries accepted that. I know wineries don't even have like a Instagram account because they don't want to be involved in markets, because I am, like artisanal or art. And but we just decided like the things is changing so much, the world is changing so much. And then I think it's harder to be so traditional, and then just sell wines how we were selling on the older days, with the things, with the technology just to arriving, and everything changes so much quicker. So what's your view about the world marketing in the wine industry? Because I feel like people is scared about this name. The people say, I don't need marketing, And then, what's your view about that?
Yes, this is very complicated. And you say that most of the wineries, because they are family owned and they are still run by the boomers. Boomers were a different generation. They're still taking also the biggest decisions in the wineries. But there is this technological gap between the people of my age, so millennials, the new generation that is entering the key positions in the wineries, and the boomers who are still taking the decisions for the wineries. So the boomers didn't have this marketing, uh, let's say, culture in their mind. And
Yeah.
social media is something that after my generation, we really, really adopted in our culture
Yeah.
and also studied. So we have this technological gap between the generations that they cannot sometimes even communicate. And you see also wineries that they don't even have traditional marketing, moreover digital marketing. And they say, it's okay, I don't need marketing because I sell my wines. So if I sell my wines, why should I market? Why should I do the marketing? And the answer is that I have spoken with many big wineries, and they told me that the sales are going down because the smaller wineries are investing in storytelling. So the consumers, in order to buy your wine, in order to suggest your wine or post it in their social media, that for me is the best marketing that you can have, word of mouth,
Yeah. Yeah.
they need a story from you. They need to know what makes you who you are. So if you're not giving them the chance to get to know you, then why should they pick this wine in the aisle of the supermarket, which is huge nowadays? So maybe for some wineries, marketing is not the first priority. For Petrus, for example. So there are some wineries that no marketing is marketing, but we are talking about the medium player that right now it's the main category. So if you want to really stand out in this huge competition out there, you need to start sharing your story and you need to start sharing it, having a goal and keep investing long term because your brand is something that needs to have an identity and a life on its own. I come and go, you come and go. I mean, I'm gonna die in a few years, but but
About a few
your,
years, I hope.
but you know, but your brand is still out there. So your brand should keep its identity. So sometimes there are wineries that invest so much in the personalized marketing. So you really connect the wine with the winemaker, and when the winemaker dies, then the brand dies. So this is why I'm saying that you should invest in the brand, invest in what this winery has to say to the world in order to keep it going for many, 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 many years.
Yeah, and then you see lots much of like the future as well, because if you talk about digital and the brand to build digital, we probably talk about lots of the DTC and we talk about the e-commerce. It's something
Yes.
like in the COVID, people didn't have like a e-commerce set up, really struggling to sell ones because people was buying most of the time online. So and it increases such an opportunity for the industry. So and then today we see much of most of the wineries now we have websites and try to sell online. But what's your view about the future? So do you think people's gonna buy more online? So that's the future for the wine industry. So do you think DTC e-commerce will be something people really wanted to be engaged with or not?
You mean e-commerce?
Yeah.
Um, I can't really read the mind of people, but I mean, if we think that digital life has been so much incorporated in our everyday life, I mean, I buy my groceries from, from an application.
Online.
Um, I mean, for me, in my opinion, it's gonna take more and more share in terms of sales. And we see also that most of the online retails right now, they're not only offering wine, they're also offering communities. So in a way, they try to sell wine, but at the same time, they try to make you feel part of a specific community. So it's not just about selling wine. It's about experiencing it in different ways. So this is where digital comes and gives you this opportunity to actually generate more sales. So you become even more connected with the e-shop that sells you wine. So you see that more and more e-shops are right now getting more personalized with you. It's not just, an empty page just with wines. They have videos, they have blogs, they organize special tastings, they organize special trips. So in a way, they try to retain and keep the sales coming. So I think it makes sense to sell more wine online because also as a consumer, you have time to read about the wine. You have time to, make, let's say, um, research, but also to compare wine. So as a consumer, I think that nowadays consumers, they really want to know what they are buying. So we will do our research. We will ask a friend, for example, about their opinion. So I don't see people going and just buying wine on the spot. They want to know what they're buying. So digital really helps in that because of all the
Yeah.
content that it's out there.
So that the brand awareness we talk here, yeah, people just getting see a lot and have a look about, and it just when you go into the shops and they see again, it's like, oh, I saw that one so many times, so and end up buy. So the brand awareness because they see so much content is starting to increase in sales in the end as well because more you share,
Yes.
yeah.
And you see that
Um,
even traditional retailers, I mean, I work with wholesalers of wine, that they also invest in their content because also this brings them more clients. So for a brand to be active on social media, sharing content, their portfolio, for example, will bring more sales. So even if you're not selling directly online, in real life, if you have a good presence and you keep this dialogue going, it will bring you more revenue.
So what's it in your business for the last 7 years? You're building this, wine genie marketing company, beauty community, and became like a creator, no influencer. I like that. Let's don't talk about influencers anymore. Let's talk about creators because that's pretty much the better name for that. Because we don't
And you know
influence
what?
anything, we just create things.
Influencers are people who are actually people who can shift a whole country. I mean, Zuckerberg, yes, he's an influencer. Kim Kardashian is an influencer. Obama is an influencer. So these people, yes, I mean, they have a voice that is, it can change, like, they can destroy a government. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they definitely influence much more than any of the wine people. But what's the biggest challenge for you? You have overcome it, and in this wine world that we have worked for the last 7 years. What is the biggest challenge for you? What was the biggest challenge for you, and you're very glad to overcome? So what's this, do you want to share that with us?
Of course. For me, the biggest challenge, um, and I think it still is in many ways, is this technological gap that I mentioned before. So I'm still negotiating with sometimes a more conservative generation. So even if the younger people are in the company, I still have to explain my work or explain how I can help a company to an older person. So I always need to make my language more user friendly. I always need to use case studies for people to understand what I do. And sometimes it takes, even a whole generation for things to change. So I see that after COVID, things are moving faster,
Mm.
but it still needs time for people to really trust the younger generation and let them take the decisions.
They don't believe us.
It's a conservative industry.
Yeah, it is very traditional industry, very traditional, because they have done the same thing for 50, 60, 70 years sometimes, and even more for some wineries in Europe. They just don't want to change, and I think change, adapt is, I think, is the most challenging for the business, to be honest, in the wine
Yes,
industry.
yes. This
Yeah.
is, I think, this is the most challenging thing.
Um, and then just for give you any advice for business, he really believe they need to be more digital. A piece of advice for them: what things should start to do yesterday to be able to engage with like the new consumers, the new world, because we know the technology coming to our life very fast. Phones, like all like today, we're not gonna last anymore in the shopping center because everyone have like a mobile phone. We can just call each other or send a message, you know. So it changes so much in the last 10 years, and then we really thinking like the next five, you'll be even heavily changed because it just changes so much day by day. It's not even more. It's really you need like a big advice for the wine business today. What they need to do for the digital presence, the digital brand, how they build the digital brand yesterday, because they don't have
Yes,
time to start tomorrow anymore, because changes so quickly and we need to adapt and change quickly as
yes.
well. We are able to play this game. So give your boy Georgia, what's your advice for them?
I will give you a very general kind of, let's say, advice that is addressed to the main category of wineries, so the smaller family ones. So I'm not speaking about wineries that can have a marketing department, or they can afford to work with an agency. I will speak about the medium winery. So invest in a good phone, please. I mean, we all have a smartphone. Invest in a good phone. You don't need a camera. You don't need to be Steven Spielberg. Invest in a good phone. The second thing is find your why. Find and discuss with your team, with your family, which is your identity, what makes you special as a winery. Because if you know what makes you special, this is how you set your goals. This is how you will set a basic strategy to get in the next step. So it's important for a winery to know who they are, because based on that, they can start building their own voice and sharing their own story. So have a good phone, find your why, and then document the everyday life of the winery. This is the easiest thing you can do. This is the hottest content right now. Show the behind the scenes. Show your everyday life. I mean, we have a treasure content, as I mentioned before. Show the dinners, the wine fairs. Go in the vineyard and take a video with a small animal in the vineyard. So be yourself, be funny. You don't have to set up an Apple strategy, or an iPhone strategy. I mean, show who you are, show who you are. That easy.
Yeah, yeah.
And last but not least, choose one, maximum two channels that work for you. You don't have to be everywhere. Pick one channel, but stay consistent. So this is a small kind of strategy that it can start, it can get you in the game in a way. So after that, you can start maybe investing more and more, but start with these basic steps.
This is just a baby step to start the digital for actually to be up. And then how create content? What's the three tips you wanted to share, like to create content? How can create content? Because I think that's something people have no idea. It's lots of a business started, and they say like, what are gonna put in there? And they put it like a bottle of wine, and they say like, this is most premium wine in the world, and it's not engaging. That is not
Yeah,
different. That's not authentic. That is not special. So, what's three types of content it's working very well. So,
yeah,
and then for people who actually start to build it in digital, what they need to think about it, like it's not a bottle of wine because it's not engaging.
yes.
What else they can do?
It can even be a bottle of wine, but in a different way. So I would say that if someone has no idea about content, start checking the competition that is out of the wine industry. So you can take inspiration from different industries. See what they're doing in fashion. See what they're doing in whatever in retail. So you can always take ideas and see what works for them, but you can also incorporate in your content and be more authentic. So you can always take ideas from AI. Technology is here to help. So you can go there. You can even create a full marketing plan nowadays using AI. Um, and most importantly, stay true to your identity. So you don't have to copy what other people are doing. Take inspiration, but incorporate it in your own voice. Don't be afraid to show who you are. Don't be afraid to be human, because nowadays social are about creating these bonds among brands and people. So stay unique. And this is something that is one of the most basic advices that anyone would give you. But I think it does work, if you're
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, I think authenticity is something is really needs to be is your point of difference. Is that make your wine and your brand or your wine business different of so many others in the market. So and that's why people is gonna go to you because you building something different of the other people. I think you just giving the one of the best advice and tips how people actually can start the digital yesterday
And of
because it's not
course,
tomorrow anymore. It's
in the end,
yesterday.
in the end, don't forget that content is about serving your audience. So people who follow you want to get some value out of you. So give them some advices, give them tips, give them hacks, make them laugh. So in the end, they follow you because they get some value from you. So always remember that content needs to serve, needs to have a specific target and vision. It's important.
Need to help with people somehow, help with people
Yes,
to find some way to be connected with you and find some sharing things together. I think you did
exactly.
so well, Georgia. Thank you so much. It was lovely to meet you and always lovely
You
to be able to
too.
chat with you and then get your experience on the digital world and all your tips and advice for the wine industry is very valuable. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope to see you soon in Australia. Or maybe, who knows?
Who knows? I can't wait to come to Australia one day. Let's try a trip together in South Australia and the wine regions.
That would be
Thank you,
amazing.
Georgia.
The wine world is small, in the end.